Okay, this is Ringwalk Media. Lovely start to the week. We have Mr. J Byrne from JB Promotions with us. How are you, mate?
Hey Johnny, how are you? All good to have you back.
Yeah, no, it's good to be here, mate. A little bit of time away, but we're all rocking and rolling, mate. Full pelt, and so are you, mate. What a good few months you've had. In fact, a few years, and a big show coming up at the weekend over in Leopardstown.
Yeah, since you would have been last over, we've a new venue there in Leopardstown. It's state of the art. It's top class. It is. It's a really nice venue. We went there in February and we returned in May. We're back there this Saturday. It's great. It's a bigger venue than the warehouse, and it's a lot more upper class than the warehouse.
Yeah.
It has the same big balcony, except for this one's a big glass balcony, and yeah, no, a lot bigger rooms, 2 floors. It's really nice. It's a lovely venue.
Well, it'll fit a few more people in as well, which is brilliant because your nights are very well received, aren't they?
Yeah, they're growing. We set out with a mentality as I spoke to you on night one, Johnny. It was to give a night's entertainment,
Yeah.
and we've done that all the way along. There's always something going on at our shows, whether it be just good music or, I mean, the last time we done a raffle, and we ended up. It was brilliant. There was a like and share thing on social media throughout the week, and then you had to be in the venue on the night to pick up the 500 cash. And we spun the wheel, called someone out. The woman was sitting ringside, brought her into the ring, but there was stated on the advert when we put it out that you had to have a liked, shared the post, but you also had to be following JB Promotions. So we got her into the ring, and her MC says to her, you, whatever your name is, yeah, yeah. And she says, he goes, well, congratulations. And I just said, well, you just have to check just to confirm that she does follow JB Promotions. She took her phone out, she wasn't following us.
Oh
So
no!
she had to do the walk of shame out of the ring.
Oh no
It
way,
was
mate!
brilliant. The crack, the place was on wheels with it. And then we done another spin, and the person wasn't. It was actually Louise's brother Darren, who goes to all the shows, but he couldn't make the last show, and his name came out, but he wasn't there. He wasn't there, so he couldn't win it. So then at that stage, it was dragging on. So I actually looked, and there was a kid, a 10-year-old kid, I think it was, sitting ringside, and I just called him into the ring.
Yeah,
And he actually, I'd be like, he had come into the ring to press the button on
got you.
the thing. So we had called him in to do that, and because he was there, we ended up giving the kid 500 quid. So the atmosphere was good for that, as well. It's just adding something. It's giving a bit of crack, and
Yeah,
again, even at Leopardstown, we're putting in the big screens, we're putting in the lighting rigs, we're putting in the walkways. It's not just
yeah.
your typical small hall with all expenses spared. We're not. We're still doing the same standard of what we've done. As I said, it's just a bigger version of the warehouse. It's a bigger and better version, in my opinion.
Well,
So yeah, look, it's
one thing I know about your shows is that the boxing quality is through the roof because you put your boxers in to fight. You don't put your boxers in to run around the ring. And this is a really good card with, of course, Paul Ryan headlining. But it's a really good undercard as well, isn't it? Just tell us about one or two of those, mate.
yeah. We had Paul matched. We had a good competitive fight for Paul. Quite good. Like, the guy was ranked higher than Paul in the
Yeah,
rankings. It was another step forward for Paul, because we were planning on doing Paul in a WBA European title fight on our September card. However, when the Crow Park start kind of talking, I started talking to them, and it was
yeah,
from day one, Paul was always going to be on the card, but I couldn't confirm that. So my plan had to go away from that card, and then we said, right, well, disappointed that we might have to wait and see. But then when it was confirmed, I just said, you know what, I'm not taking any gambles with Paul. Imagine he gets in the ring and he goes in against a really good level opponent, and it was a really competitive fight. He got an injury or he got a cut or something like that. So I said, look, let's go for someone that's a little bit safer. He can cause an upset when he wants to, but a little bit safer. And we're bringing in Jordan Grannon for him next week.
he's good.
Um,
I like Jordan, and he'll give him
it,
a lot
it'll
of power.
get Paul. We were doing Paul 8 rounds, against a very good competitive opponent. I think he was like 265 or something, the rankings he was. But
Yeah,
instead, it's going to be a 6 rounder against Jordan, and Paul's just going to get out and show his skills again and stay safe as he can and just box. It's not going to go to war like against Peter Carr. he said he wanted to show people that he had a chin, so he stood toe to toe with Peter Carr for as long as the fight went on. And, it was a tough, grueling fight. So, Stevie Collins Jr. is on the undercard. He's fighting against a good pole, a really tough pole. Stevie came unstuck there in the last few months against an opponent. I know his preparation for that fight wasn't great in the whole lot. So he's looking to put a run together now as well. But he has a tricky ask in front of him with this pole on thing, and it's over 8 rounds. So that's a good fight for him.
Yeah.
There's a few. Daniel O'Sullivan is coming off a loss, and again another unexpected loss, and he's going in against Daniel Prejevic. Daniel actually boxed Glenn there. He boxed Glenn Lynch. He boxed Glenn Byrne a few months back in Belfast. He boxed Glenn Lynch there on our last event. Daniel comes his game. Him and Glenn Lynch was a great scrap over 8 rounds. Yeah, look, it's a nice card. Sarah Murphy's out. She's we had an opponent for her, but that opponent, there was an issue with visas, or there was an issue with licenses or something like only Friday there. So I was panicking because with the girls they are harder to match. But we got a match. We got a Polish girl in for her. Sarah's ranked 47. This girl's ranked 57. So it's another progressing fight. It's also Sarah's first 6-rounder. So again, you got to be careful when you're stepping them up as well, because these girls coming in do be used to doing the rounds, and Sarah's stepping up for the first time. Now, Sarah put in a career best performance in the last show, so I'll be hoping she'll kick on from this, and yeah, I'm looking forward to Sarah's future. Carl Sheridan got a very dubious loss in his last fight. I thought he'd done enough. I was shocked when the result was read out. I really thought he'd done enough. We tried to get the rematch for this, but the guy got a cut and he's out for 28 days, so we couldn't. So Carl is back in the ring to get a win. Carl is ranked 1530th. He's fighting a Jake Pollard, who we all know Jake what he does. Jake is ranked 950th. So for us, Carl wins this fight. He flies up the rankings. You know what I mean? It's a clever fight. Look.
And you got Shawnee Tyndall out as well, right?
Young Sean Tyndall is out. Yeah, he's actually making his Irish debut against Stefan Nikolai again. Sean has started his career nicely. He's been in the UK. He's done a couple of fights. I would have trained with Sean and trained Sean for a while, and he's a good kid. He comes, he packs a punch, and he's an exciting prospect. I believe Sean is one that people should keep their eye on. And we're delighted to have him on. He's a local man, so there's no reason why he shouldn't be on the card.
Well, it sounds like a brilliant show, mate, and always good value for money. So if anyone's over there, grab a ticket and get yourselves over to Leopardstown Racecourse and have a good night of boxing, because
there's not many left. There's a handful of tickets left. I've them over on my desk there. We're down to about 25, 30 tickets left. So if anyone does want tickets, they can reach out to the JB Promotions page or any of the fighters on the card.
Well, let's talk about the massive news that obviously you've known for a little while, but was announced to us this week. Obviously, Paul Ryan fighting an old foe of yours, Paddy Gallagher, mate. And I spoke to Paul yesterday. He's absolutely flying. He's up for this fight. And, he said it's almost like a pinch me moment. I've gone from, thinking I might not make it to be boxing at Croke Park and, boxing in Saudi Arabia. Since Paul's been with you, his career has absolutely rocketed, mate. You've done a fabulous job with Paul.
Yeah, look, I always say to the fighters on day one, they have to do a job, I have to do a job. If they do their job right, I'll definitely do my job right. And together, that can become powerful. And that's what's happened with Paul. Paul has started to grow a massive fan base. I think his first show we done like 150 tickets. I think the next one was like 190, and the last one was like 290.
Yeah.
And that's his job. Get ready, get yourself in shape, sell your tickets. My job is to promote them, get the right matches, and so on. But he hasn't had it easy, because Paul fought, I think it was around Pomerleau, or whatever his name was, in the WBC. Derek, at the time he was ranked 17 in the world.
Yeah.
And Paul was giving him a boxing lesson. Okay, he got clipped, but Paul was giving him a boxing lesson.
Yeah.
Now, my thing on that is, when Paul came back... Sorry?
Eric ended up in the final, didn't he? He was the finalist.
He did, yeah. But that's the level Paul is like. He was giving him a boxing lesson, and he got clipped on the back foot. Since Paul is going to come to me in the fights I've watched him, he has changed his style slightly. He's sitting down a lot more. His feet are more planted, and he's not getting... He stood toe-to-toe with Peter Carr in the last fight and showed he can take a punch. So... the preparations and things have obviously changed, and Paul has a chin, which was always the worry. So when he came to me, he said to me, Jay, I don't want to be going backwards. I don't want to be fighting journeymen. Like, we need to go. Like, I want to get a competitive opponent. At the same time, Edward Donovan was looking to be on the card. The card was full. They were the same weight. And I
Yeah.
said, I just said, look, I don't have anyone. I said, the only person I'm looking for at the minute is a match for Paul Ryan, because I said he needs a match. And Edward said, I'll fight him. At this stage, I hadn't signed Edward. And then they asked me, I said, yeah, I would, and I would stand with Edward. I said, win, lose, or draw, I will build Edward then
Yeah.
off a win or a loss or a draw. And Paul went in, he put in a great performance, and he beat Edward. And the next step for Paul then was a title. It was a Celtic or an Irish title. And Peter Carr had a great win that night as well. I think he beat Sean Murray.
Yeah.
So it was all written in the stars that the both lads had both won a middleweight fight, two fights on the night we had in our show. And that's what we tend to do, which you've seen kind of along the way. We'll set the paths for lads by doing that, basically matching them
Yeah.
in fights. And when you win, you will fight each other and you will get rewarded. And that's the reward for having your domestic. So, for instance, them two fought. They both fought in middleweight contests on the night. Peter Carr fought Sean Murray. Paul Ryan fought Edward Donovan. So straight away, both of them went together and they fought for the Irish title in the next fight. That was the greatest fight I've ever watched live.
It's amazing. I've
Um,
watched it
it,
back. It's fabulous.
the atmosphere in the stadium that night was outstanding. The fight was outstanding. Everything about that fight, and even Mel Crystal, the president of the board, said it was the greatest fight he'd ever witnessed live, and that was the testament to both men. So Paul has to move on, but again, like what I said to Edward, and like what I said to Peter, I gotta build them, look after them as well. It's not losing the boy, because you can't get disregarded just because you've lost a fight that I've suggested to you or that you've put yourself into on my show. So there's news coming this week. There's a lot of news coming this week on my next show, but I'm going to say it's going to be the biggest card I've ever promoted and the best card I've ever promoted. Now,
Wow.
I've said it from day one, I have to keep stepping up the levels, and to produce the fight we produced in the last show was outstanding. But on the October show, we had Dean Walsh and Daniel O'Sullivan, and that was what everyone was calling the best Irish title fight of all time. The other one topped it. I don't know if we can top it in October or in September, but I can tell you here and now, I've already got 5 domestic fights signed, sealed, and delivered for that
Wow.
card, and 3 of them pending authorization from the BUI are for titles. 3 of them. There will be at least one more, potentially 2 more. I'm gonna have a full main card of domestics for October, and that has been the plan since day one, to have a full card on the main card of domestics, and that looks like it's going to happen in September. The posters are made, the show is ready. It will be announced on Saturday, and some of the fighters will go head to head in the ring on Saturday at our event.
Wow. That's big news, mate. That's a fabulous thing to look forward to.
Mm.
Um, I mean, your show,
Paul,
the National
Paul
Stadium,
again,
is a great venue as well.
yeah, and again, Paul, on Paul's fight with Paddy, again, that fight was provisionally booked and agreed for September 26th, which is our next event
Yeah.
for the WBA European. Once Paddy continued to win, there's controversy around this fight last week. A lot of controversy around it, but the fight with Paddy was made. If it wasn't Paddy, it was Daniel O'Sullivan. We were going between the boat. Pascal hadn't confirmed. He said Daniel had a fight in May, I think it was. He'd confirm after that. Sadly, Daniel lost that fight.
Right.
So that really only left us with Paddy. Now we can go to Europe, we can go to England. I have other middleweights that would have been up for it as well, but these were just the fights that we had looked at, because again, I'm picking fights that I think are good fights, but I also think that Paul can win these fights. You get me? And that's
Sure.
why I picked them opponents. And it was a bit of argy-bargy last week, I understand, because around Paddy's performance. I didn't think Paddy won the fight. I'll hand up and say I didn't think he won the fight. I thought he lost the fight. I thought what happened was crazy. I've never seen that like it in my life. But at the end of the day, the fight with Paul isn't for a European title. It's not for a belt. It's not for a title. And that's why Paddy is still the opponent. It's
Yeah.
very much like Graham McCormack fought Richie O'Leary on my show in April for the title. He fell short in that fight. He retired, but he got a shot at Paddy Gallagher for
Yeah.
in a non-title fight over 8 rounds. That's exactly the same. Paddy is getting a shot at Paul Ryan in a non-title fight over 8 rounds, coming off a loss. So he hasn't come off a loss. He's come off a draw at the minute. Whether he overturned or not, I don't know. But just because there was a bit of argy-bargy around it and saying, "Oh, that's why the fight was fixed," it was nothing to do with that. The fight was done for September 26th. It was him or Daniel. But when Daniel lost, we put Paddy forward. We said right. But then it was like when the fight had when Paddy was announced the loser, I was like, "Fuck." But then Matchroom had said that it was only going to be an 8 rounder, and I went, "Oh, thank God for that."
Yeah.
So that's where we're at on that one. But it's a good fight. Paddy needs to turn up a lot better than he did in his last fight, because Paul is a level above what Graham would be.
Yeah. No,
So he does
it
need to turn up.
bodes to be a fabulous fight on the night, mate. Absolutely brilliant. Um, and let's not forget, 1st of August, you've got our good lad Sen Kelly out on the Queensbury show, mate, and
Senan and Sean.
another good test, isn't it?
Yeah, Senan and Sean are out. Senan is fighting Stephen Cairns.
Yeah.
Senan's kind of got to the stage where he stepped up against Ben Marksby, fell short.
I thought he won
Um,
that fight, by the way. I thought he beat Dan Marksby in that fight.
I had him losing myself. I
I
had
didn't.
him down. I had 1 to 2 rounds. I thought he was winning after five. I thought he was well comfortable after five, and then I thought he had a blip in the middle of
Yeah.
7, 8, 9. I thought he had a blip. So I wouldn't argue that result. I thought it was a great fight, but it showed the level he's at.
Yeah.
Um, I on this one, he's preparing really well. It's the best I've ever seen him. I've been keeping an eye on him. The media team have been into him an awful lot,
Yeah.
and I've seen a lot of the footage. He looks very sharp. He looks lean already, which isn't like Senan. Um, Cairns is a lovely boxer, lovely guy. Looks like he has a bit of punch. I,
Yeah.
I hope they haven't made a mistake.
Yeah, it's a big fight actually, and a fight that's going to have a lot of fireworks in it. I think because neither of them are quiet. They like to come forward, don't they?
Mm, yeah, and that's it. Looking, as I said, Cairns hasn't took a step out of line, and he's talking about being a world champion. But mm, I think I think they're going to get a surprise with Senna. Please God, he can get in there and he can. From what I believe, he'll just put it on him.
Yeah, it's going to be a great night. And again, you said you had somebody else on there. You've got
Sean Murray's boxing John Joe Carrington. It's a big ask. John Joe is a stellar amateur. He's been excellent as a pro so far. He's won all his fights by knockout. But Sean Murray says the same thing. Who's he for?
yeah,
Let's see how tough he is. That's what Sean says. Let's see how hard he hits. Let's see how tough he is.
I love
So
it. I love it.
Sean's turning up to have a go and rip up the script. That's what he does. You know, he doesn't mind
That's what,
selling tickets and fighting journeyman. He just wants to fight. He just wants to fight in competitive fights. And Sean's next to fight is agreed and ready to go as well. So
do you know
that's
what?
another domestic.
That's what used to happen in boxing a few years ago. Boxers would turn up to try and, rip the scripts up. In the modern world, not so much. Everyone's worried about their records. But now, from what your guys, you seem to be recreating that kind of mentality with those boxers. Like, let's go and have a go. See how hard he is. Let's see if he can hit.
Well, Bayo Labi went over to the Hydro in Glasgow in April,
Yeah.
and he fought Marcus Sutherland. Was one of Queensbury's talents. Like, he was
Yeah.
one of our boys. He sells a lot of tickets in Scotland, like thousands and thousands worth of tickets in Scotland. And Bayo went over there. Marcus was 10-0. Bayo was a little paddy being brought over to lose, and he gave him an absolute boxing lesson.
Yeah.
Like, he boxed rings around him, and I have a lot of time for Marcus, and I have a lot of time for his manager Sam, and Sam was my manager. I've
Yeah.
loads of respect for him, but Bayo was a different level to him that night. I was actually very, very surprised that Queensbury didn't ask about signing Bayo. I don't. Okay, he didn't get in and knock him out, but he gave him a boxing lesson. Like,
Mm.
you could maybe give Marcus 1 round, maybe two at max, but that shouldn't happen. He's not he's not supposed to do that. You know what I mean? It's You might go over and get a lucky knockout, but you don't usually go over and school the home fighter and come home with the belt. He did
No.
it, and we had Heja McMahon the month before that. Was the 13th of March. I went over to Scotland with him. and he was fighting Jack Richardson in an unbeaten, another one of Sam Kinnock's fighters, an unbeaten fighter, for the Celtic title in his backyard, and he just went over there and he won. And I don't know, you've probably seen in your absence, Glenn wasn't out of place in the William Crawler fight, who was
Absolutely not.
one of Matchroom's big prospects, and Glenn was, a novice up and coming, and he went over there and he showed that, like, you were there for Glenn's debut.
Yep.
You seen where Glenn came from to go over then to co-main event on a Matchroom show and have the Matchroom fighter down 4 times. You know, it just shows you. But again, there's a lot of offers that come in that we don't accept.
Yeah.
There is a lot that don't come in. It depending on the fighter and things like that. Like I wouldn't have been too keen on the John Joe Carrington fight, but Shawnee loves it. Shawnee just loves fighting. He thought, three arena. That's where I want to be. So
Yeah.
he's gonna go and do his best in the tree arena, and that's where we're at. But we're doing okay. We're doing all right in the road, and no issues. All is good.
I mean, you've been doing this what 2.5 years now as a promoter, right, and a manager.
Mm.
And I remember I was at your last fight. So you've come from
Yeah.
being a boxer and understanding what they go through on camp and fight night and all the rest of it and all the media and all that kind of stuff. 2.5 years later, you've been promoter of the year. You've got boxers up on national stage, international stages now. Do you ever think that it would happen this quickly and this brilliantly? Because you really have. Look, we know each other, right? But I love boxing, and what I see with you is what I call for in the UK: a manager and a promoter that actually just gets it right and does it right. Did you ever think it would happen this quickly?
Now, to be honest, Johnny, I've said it before in another interview. The day I sat having my first press conference, I was bluffing. Call a spade a spade. Like, I sat and I told everyone what I was going to do. I told everyone what I was going to do, and I told them how I was going to do it. And it's all happened, but I was definitely on the bluff that day. It was wishful thinking from me that day. I said I'm gonna bring fighters from the ground up, and rather than them always have to go to the UK to, fight on away corners and just to get paid, and we want to do the big fights in Dublin, and I
Mm.
want to get broadcast deals over here. I want broadcasters coming to watch airboxing and things like that. And we got it. We got the first broadcast deal. We got Triller over the line on a contract. We have a contract with Triller. We're in talks with another broadcaster at the minute, one we actually discussed previously. I have been banging the drum of terrestrial TV, and that won't stop. But I believe I will get all of that, and I said it from day one I'd get it, and I said I wanted to bring up, like, I don't know the numbers on it, but the amount of fighters I've brought from amateur into pro boxing and up now and who have won titles.
Yeah.
There's a lot. Like, I have a good few belts in the stable, and a lot of them were lads who I brought. They weren't just lads I signed from someone else, or they had 5 pro fights already. I've, like, for instance, the likes of Paul Leon, from being an amateur, he came to me. He's a Celtic champion. He will fight for an Irish title this year, and please God, he'll win that. Richie O'Leary, from near death
Yeah.
to picking up a title in his last fight. I'm sure he'll fight for another title this year. As I said about Glenn, had a co-main event in the Matchroom show, putting in a stellar performance on that show. There's so many lads that have gone and won belts, and there's a lot more. But that was what I said that day, and I'll always try. But that day I did probably bit a bit too much off that day that I had to really go on back. But I got it. We done it, and it's been done. It's been done properly, and everything's been done right. There's no beating around the bush. We do things right, and we do it at a good level. And
Yeah.
I kind of went. I was signing loads at the start and the whole lot, and lads were letting me down on the whole lot. I didn't make it public. I didn't make a knowledge of who the ones were or what was happening. I just kind of stopped kind of working with them as such. You know what I mean? And we had signed people, and then if while ADT sign for someone else, if we sign someone and they sign for someone else, there's a reason behind that, and the reason usually is they weren't up to what we wanted. They weren't up to the level, or they weren't willing to do what we wanted them to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's kind of, we set standards, and if you're not at that standard, not technically or ability wise, but it could be just you don't sell any of your tickets. You're turning up to weigh-ins and you're leaving us short, or you're telling us you want big fights, and we go put the work in and we get you good fight offers of fights that we believe you'll win, and you're knocking them back, and it's not once, but it's twice or it's three times, and then we just goes, you know what? There's no point us working together because you're saying one thing to us, we're going doing the work, and then we're coming and delivering this to you, and you're not taking it, or just little things like that. So but it can all go like that, Johnny. It's a strange industry, this boxing, and you just always have to keep your head down and just keep working away and keep chipping away. And I believe hard work will always make success, and that's why we've been successful. But this is only the foundations are being built. That's really where we're at. Like, until I've done a three arena show on RTE or Virgin or something like that, that's when you look back and go, oh yeah, you know what, we've come a long way here, you know.
Do you think realistically you could get that done in, say, the next couple of years?
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely, yeah, I was, yeah, having the
It's
having
amazing.
the having the small input I had in the Wasserman card with the Wasserman team last year for Mick Conlon's Dublin debut
Yeah.
was that was really nice. They're a really great team. What there was, man, lads. Jesus, all sound lads, and I keep in touch with them all. Like, they're really, really top people. Um, but I helped them out with stuff. I gave them numbers of transport companies, and I was dealing with the DPY a little bit for them at the
Yeah.
time, and I had a couple of lads on the card, sending Paul Unum and Glenn, and I just to see how they do it and to see how it went, and I looked at it and I went, I could do that. I know I could do it. You know, So yeah, it's just about having the right fighters, and we've a lot planned. We've a lot planned. We've hired a media team, in regards, like, I've 5 people that work for me now that go around all the gyms making videos of the fighters, professional photography, just photographers and videographers floating around. I didn't know. By the way, I didn't know I heard this media team until one of the events. I was like, who's this person and who's that person? And then Babs and Kieran said, yeah, they're part of our media team. And I was like, oh, are they? I didn't even know their names on it. So, but there's 5 of them, and they're at all the events. They're backstage. They're up in the box. They're around the ring. They're going to gyms. They're going to different counties around the country, and they're picking up this and they're doing that. They want to do. They're doing promotional videos in the background, little documentaries, and yeah,
Yeah.
we've a good little team set up there. But we're going to be doing more. There's a lot more going to be happening. On that media team is going to be going around. I've also heard my sister in the last week to do some stuff for me part time. She's going to be getting around, a bit of canvassing for us around, the counties and where we have fighters and things like that. And we're going to be arranging days down in the local clubs and stuff with the fighters, and to get the brand awareness out there of the fighters and of us and that. So yeah, we're doing a lot. Like, so I do believe the next 12 to 18 months is very important.
Well, mate,
I,
I
I,
mean,
I think I think, Johnny, the standards we're setting. Um, Anyone that wants to come in and do promoting, because a couple are starting to kind of tippy toe around coming in, doing a bit of promoting. There was no one here when we started,
yeah.
really, consistently running shows. And now all the big boys have coming in, which is great. It's giving bigger platforms for our fighters, and our fighters are up at that level nearly to be on them cards, which is great. Um, but I won't rest until we're one of the big boys, and we'll always be leading the way over here when it comes to Irish boxing. That's my opinion. I don't think anyone has the work ethic or the attention to detail that I have, and I just need to keep getting better and just keep striving to get bigger and bigger and better.
And do you know what I love about Irish boxing and the promoters? You've got the likes of Mick Conlon and Jason Quigley and so on. You're all mates. You all get on with each other. You all help each other out, and it doesn't happen like that over in the UK. Not most of the time, anyway. It's so nice to see a country pulling together to actually look at the bigger picture and give Irish boxing that step up that it deserves, really.
Well, I said that from day one, the first press conference. I want
Yeah,
to work with everybody. It's not about Jay Bourne. It's not about JB.
yeah.
It's about Irish boxing. And that's what you've obviously in the last few months we've launched our amateur series.
Yeah,
So on every event we do, on the morning of that event, we also host an amateur event to the same standard and quality of the pro show.
yeah,
Tickets are obviously 20 quid. They're not saying, boys, you don't have to buy a pro ticket for 20 quid for the amateur show. But we give back. So like already we've done 3 events this year, and we've already given like 4 grand to amateur boxing clubs,
brilliant.
500 quid each to clubs, and then the boxer gets to bring home a nice looking pro belt. And they're getting a day out in the lights and all that stuff. And but that's my way of giving back, and that's my way of giving to the clubs that are producing these boxers that then will become pros down the road. So this Saturday will be or this Friday will be no different. There'll be a couple of shows. It all depends on how many ticket sales, and then by the time you pay the staff and the amateur officials and the medics and all of that stuff, whatever's left, then we distribute it out. We'll give a couple of clubs. It could be two. There one, not the last show. I think was two. The one before that was 3 clubs got it. So that's my way of just giving back to the amateur clubs and giving them their moment, giving them their lives, and it keeps amateur boxers in the gym. It keeps them in the gym. The summers, the gyms are closed, but this is a reason for them to keep going. You know what I mean? And I spoke to the main man in Boxing Ireland who runs the amateur scene. He was at he was at our show in April in the stadium, and I was chatting to him, and he was very, very complimentary of what we're doing. And I just said, look, if there's anything I can do for you, if you ever want me to help with running any events for you or doing that for you, please let me know. Or I also said if you want to do internationals for elites before they go away, one of our shows can be an international bout or a competition or whatever they want to do. So that was never been there. It was always pro here, amateurs, and that was never anything. Now I'm starting to try bring it together that there is a connection there between the two. And as I said, that was never there, and I've brought that back, and I believe it will get bigger and bigger and bigger. But that's what I said on day one. It's not about me. It's not about this other promoters. I said any of these promoters that want to think it's competition or want to do that, you go and be competition with someone else because you won't ever beat me. You can be competition. You might beat me once, but you never beat me again. You
Mm.
get me? That's the way it is, and you're better off working with me because if you don't, the only people losing out is your fighters, not mine. And they don't. All the promoters are cool. We get on, we chat. I was only chatting to Jason a couple of weeks ago. I was chatting to Paddy McCrory this morning. I think Paddy will have a guy on the card in September. Jason usually has one on the cards, one or two on the cards sometimes. So there's never any issue there. We all work together, and if we don't, as I said, it's only the fighters that lose out. And anyone that wants to come in being ready and try to be competition and all like that, job on man. It's not worth it.
Well, listen, mate, it's been a fascinating 45 minutes or so having another catch up with you and seeing how well you're doing. Um, you mentioned there's a few tickets left for this weekend. Where can people get them if they want to
You
come?
reach out to the JB Promotions Instagram page. We sell them there, or any of the fighters direct on the card. Just give them a message. I'm sure some of the fighters will have some left, but we do have. There's about 25 or 30 circulating around there at the minute, which usually just go on fight week. But it should be a nice venue. There should be a nice night. There should be about 900 to 1,000 people there.
And of course, for clarity, Katie Taylor night has sold out in 17 minutes. So uh,
Mm.
probably going to be hard to get a ticket for that one, but certainly get your eyes on the TV and watch it on DAZN, right?
The zone, and it also looks like it could be on Irish terrestrial TV.
Ah, brilliantly. That's
So that's
brilliant.
going to be good. Eddie, Brian Peters, and Aiken Promotions have done a stellar job. Eddie and his team, should I say, Frank and the lads as well, but they've done a stellar job, man. Jesus, how they done that. And it wouldn't have worked with just one outlet. I think the three of them coming together is what's made it happen. The media job they done going around on the bus and all of that stuff. And then, when Eddie Hearn speaks, people listen. And I tell you, that was prime example was at the press conference of the announcement of it. Wow, everyone in that room was baffled by him. I'd say the guy who, Peter McKenna from the GAA, was sitting at that table going, holy God, I wish I had him as their salesman. He was like, it was unbelievable, I have to say. And look, the country has come on side to support her, and so Katie deserves, because she is, without a doubt, the greatest Irish sports person of all time. And this is her way of, being celebrated as such.
It's going to be some occasion, mate. And let's not forget Senna and Shawnee, 1st of August at the Three Arena. Contact those guys for some tickets if they've got any left.
Thanks, Johnny.
Listen, nice to see you, mate. There's one more thing. You've got some very, very loyal sponsors, mate, that have been there from day one when you had nothing but a press conference. Give them a shout out, mate, because they've been there and they've helped and made a massive difference.
Yeah, we've a partnership with Oosh. This year is our first year with Oosh. Brilliant people to deal with, brilliant people to work with. They're so supportive. They're at all our events. They're doing giveaways. They're doing loads. But get onto Oosh. You want a new house, you want a car, get onto Oosh. You pick one up for probably €1, €2 max. Some of their stuff is outstanding on their website. It's great.
Yeah.
Tanmi being there from day one alongside Blanchardstown 4x4. Both boys have been there from the first ever show. Can't thank them enough. Halfway Cabs, they're on board now. This is their second year. Really, really good guys. And we also have the Mangan group, Brian Mangan. He's an Irish guy that's living it up in America, and he's a big, big boxing man. He travels to all of our events from America. He travels, flies in on a Friday, flies home on a Sunday to watch all of our events. And without the sponsorship and the support of these people, this wouldn't be possible. No big nights would be possible throughout the year without these guys, because they're really, really supportive on all aspects. They're always reaching out to see if we need help with anything.
Well, listen, fabulous, mate. Good luck to all your fighters in the next few months. Looking forward to seeing the show on Saturday night, Leopardstown.
Friday.
Friday night, Leopardstown. And then you're going to be back at the National Stadium in September as well. We'll look forward to that one when that gets announced, hopefully. And, mate, I'll see if I can get over. It'd be nice to come over.
Thanks, Johnny. Appreciate that.
Great to see you, Jay. Take care now.
Talk soon, pal. Thank you.